Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Daily Take. This is going to be more of an expanded version of Daily Take because there are some more stories that need to be covered. So we'll take care of the pass interference challenge, Michael Thomas, Daniel Jones, the Mets. Let's go. Already one game into the NFL preseason, and the new pass interference challenge rule is a failure. In the Hall of Fame game between the Atlanta Falcons and the Denver Broncos last night, the refs called offensive pass interference against the Broncos. Yeah, it's a first down in Broncos territory. You can't challenge penalties. Oh, wait, you can under the new rule. Why was the pass interference rule put in during the first place? I know why. To improve one team's feelings. Oh, good. That's right. They missed pass interference calls in crunch time in the NFC Championship game that hurt the Saints' chances significantly of reaching the Super Bowl. However, people need to realize the context surrounding the call were dumbfoundedly overlooked by the commissioner's office. The Saints had a 13-0 lead at home against the Rams. The Rams came back to tie it late. Then the pass interference happened, and the sports world went bonkers over a missed call. The Saints settled for a field goal. The Rams came back and kicked a field goal to send the game into overtime. And the Saints won the toss. Drew Brees got picked. The Rams kick a field goal. Rams win. Rams play in the Super Bowl. And let me tell you something about this. Making a pass interference challenge legal is going to be bad for the NFL, especially if it wants to promote its 100th season as a league. I don't know if that's a winning strategy for promoting the game. It has already proven to be bad. This is bad for those that want to see a genuine flow of the game. This offends the senses. Now, don't be surprised if the NFL continues this trend next offseason when they allow roughing the passer penalties to be challenged. Remember that as a popular talking point at the start of last year when they changed the rules on that? The results will be uglier than that. This is another reminder to not blow double-digit leads in a postseason game at home. Speaking of the Saints, Michael Thomas is worth every single penny for the New Orleans Saints. He signs a 5-year, $96 million contract extension with $61 million in guaranteed cash. Michael Thomas is one of football's most indispensable players. With 1 year left on his current deal, he had every right to hold out the first few days of training camp. And I don't get to say this for many people, but Michael Thomas definitely would deserve to hold out if he wanted to. And the Saints would have been beyond foolish not to cave in. And he is Drew Brees' most reliable catching target, the future Hall of Famer, Drew Brees. He led the league with 125 catches last year. He also had 9 touchdowns and over 1,400 receiving yards. First team All-Pro, dynamic presence in the Saints locker room and in the Saints lineup. He's a top 5, if not top 3 receiver in the game. I also think of DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones. I'd also argue for Odell Beckham Jr., Devontae Adams. I would also be willing to argue for Amari Cooper, among others. But Michael Thomas has been under the radar, and his highlight reel doesn't show the athleticism of DeAndre Hopkins or Odell Beckham Jr., but it's one of consistency that tells the Saints and Sean Payton they need to find a way for him to start 16 times a season. He has been consistent during his first 3 years, and his production and skills have gotten better and better each of his first 3 years. And to show how important Michael Thomas is, after him though, the main receiving targets are Alvin Kamara and Jared Cook. The next best one is Ted Ginn Jr. I think they are all competent players. I think Kamara is a top 5 running back. I think Jared Cook is capable of being a top 10 tight end. But the home run threat is removed off the board, and the offense is only 2-dimensional instead of 4 or 5 dimensions long. Yes, I have concerns about the depth chart after Michael Thomas and Drew Brees, and I think the Eagles and the Rams are deeper at the wide receiver position than New Orleans. I'd also consider making an argument for the Packers when Aaron Rodgers is healthy. But the Saints shouldn't panic right now. They should be celebrating that they have a top 5 wide receiver under contract for the next 5 years after this year. But you need a big season for Michael Thomas if you want to see Drew Brees win another Super Bowl. On to the New York Football Giants now, as first round pick Daniel Jones finally showed glimpses of hope in training camp yesterday. He looked like a starting quarterback who belongs behind center in week number 1. When I did my draft talking points on Twitter a week before the draft, Daniel Jones was one of the 2 quarterbacks, and I can't believe I'm saying this, that made some sense for the Giants. I thought Dwayne Haskins made too much sense, but I want Daniel Jones taking pride for the scrutiny that faced the front office and the team when the Giants selected him over Haskins at number 6 overall in the draft. He played with a lot of fluff at Duke, terrible offensive line, terrible wide receivers. He even had Duke nationally ranked at one point last year. Now look, the Giants aren't making the playoffs this season, and with Eli Manning not being consistent enough for the fans' liking, and I know Eli Manning is getting paid a lot of money, so of course that would be a business decision for the Giants to start in week number 1 in Dallas. But it would do the franchise a better service to start Daniel Jones sooner rather than later. I want him to work in the back with Saquon Barkley, who can take up a lot of pressure of Daniel Jones, whose workload should be lower this year, and then ramp up in years 2 and 3 when the training wheels are taken off Daniel Jones. He should also be able to work with an improved offensive line. I like what the Giants did with bringing in Kevin Zeitler in a trade and then Mike Remmers in free agency, and I give Dave Gettleman credit for emphasizing the offensive line in his attempt to rebuild the Giants, a huge reason the Giants missed the playoffs 6 times in the last 7 years. If I'm Pat Shurmur, I'd entertain a scenario where Daniel Jones starts over Eli Manning mid-season, or even week number 1. Meanwhile, the Mets are playing their best baseball of the season right now, winning 13 of their 18 games since the All-Star break. They're only 4 games behind the Cubs, the Phillies, the Nationals for the wild card spots. And look, this has not been the season Mets fans are looking for, and we are exactly 2/3 of the way through the season. But everyone knew before the start of the season there would be a lot of quality teams beating each other up in the National League, making a whole slew of playoff combinations possible when it comes to the wild card. The Mets starting pitching has been fun to watch. Pitching coach Phil Regan is doing an outstanding job getting Zach Wheeler and Steven Matz on track. Michael Conforto has had some big hits in the recent series against the White Sox. He played outstanding defense. Ahmed Rosario finally showed up on the field yesterday and has been so much better defensively since the start of the season. They added Marcus Stroman to the rotation over the eventually traded Jason Vargas. And look, Jason Vargas didn't have a bad season with the Mets, but Marcus Stroman, I'd take him any day of the week over Jason Vargas. And look, I still have question marks in the bullpen. The veteran bats of Wilson Ramos and Robinson Cano reaching their potentials. But the Mets are playing good ball right now. And 33 of their last 51 games are at home. Somehow, someway, Brodie Van Wegenen believed in this team enough to keep the team in the pennant race and be set up for some form of success next year. And that will do it for this edition of Daily Take. Like, subscribe, comment down below what you think. I am John Flynn, and I will see you next time right here on the Daily Take.